Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where we talk all things Commander. And we have an announcement today. We have been bought out by Hasbro, and they have appointed us co-CEOs of Magic the Gathering. So today, we are going to talk about what we would do if we were Magic's CEO. And apparently, there's 4 of us. We're going to have to do the co-CEO job. Four is better than 1, right? Join with me, Mr. CEO Saffron Olive. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to talk about what I would do if I was in charge over at Wizards. There's definitely a pretty big list.
Tomer, Mr. Bossman, what's up?
I'm super excited to confirm all the haters in the comment section correct that we are shills and we were bought out by WotC, because now we have confirmation. We got the CEO role, so I'm very excited to talk about my changes.
Nepotism pays off. Father-son duels. Krim, we got the family in power now. What's up?
Thanks for getting me my job, Dad. It's my first job. I can't handle a whole franchise. Let's go.
And I am the Godfather Richard. And yeah, apparently we just got bought out by Hasbro. So we have been shilling this whole time. It's the grand reveal. But on a serious note,
think you need to reveal, by the way, that we're kidding. Kind of.
We're kidding. But we are going to
just in case.
pretend that we are Magic's CEO, and we're going to pretend that the CEO of Magic has unilateral power, and we're going to talk about what we would do for the game of Magic as Magic's CEO. Before we get into that, though, today's show is brought to you by our sponsors, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. No, I'm kidding. Ultimate Card, premium protection for your trading cards. All the gaming accessories we use on this channel are from Ultimate Guard. So check out their playmat, deck boxes, and sleeves at ultimateguard.com. And also Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. You can skip all the typing, time, and work associated with buy listing. And their curated service lets you send in as many cards as you want with buy list value of $1 more, and you pay just a 5% service fee. You can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards and pay only 2%. You get a detailed report and fast payment once your order is processed. You can get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting today's show. And it's time for the Ultimate Guard comment of the week. So last week we talked about the top cards from Foundations. Top comment, Lazy Dino 59. Yes, a new episode of This Card Dies to Farewell. It's trash.
That's every episode.
There's only one person that resonates with, and I think I know who it is.
I think we just need to ban the word farewell for like one podcast, and then
They're baiting
reset.
us. We'll cut a deal with the YouTube comments. You don't mention farewell, we don't mention farewell.
Ugh.
Right? That's the deal, because they always bait us with all the comments about farewell, and then we're like, well, farewell. If you don't
Gotta
mention
do that,
it,
yeah.
we don't mention it. Right? All right. So as first act of Magic CEO, we ban the word farewell from all discourse.
Or just ban it from Commander too. That'd be fine. We could just get rid of it altogether.
No, man.
No, but
I
we need to make
object.
blasphemous farewell. It's coming.
We need stronger farewell.
yeah.
Honestly.
All right, so let's hit things up. If we were CEO of Magic the Gathering, so CEO of Wizards of the Coast, or maybe CEO of Hasbro, what would we do? Here is the number one thing I would do. I would make an armored character. Now, hear me out. We are a fantasy game, okay? And in every fantasy game, there is a mysterious character who is just clad in like the most sick armor you've ever seen, and you never see their face. You don't know who they are. You don't know anything about them. And they just come and they murder everything. And Wizards has never made one of these characters. Like, why?
Boba Fett, basically, of the franchise.
Why?
Richard. Clearly, you do not know the lore and the depth of Magic. Have you heard of Iron Man? Iron Man is in an armor. Not only is he in an armor, he's got a gallery full of armors.
So what is an example of this?
No, where's the rebuttal, Richard? Where's the rebuttal?
What is an example of an armored character from another game or another IP? Like, I'm trying to grasp what you mean here. Is there like an iconic example of this?
Are you talking about like Shoguns and stuff like that as well? because we
Just-
kind of have that with Bushido and like
You want a
the
mysterious-
Kamigawa.
it's
Or
part.
kind
do you
of
just
like
mean some literal armor
you
dude
need
that
to not
slashes
know
everyone
who
up?
it is though. They got
Yeah.
like the Wanderer would be close.
Wanderer
the
would be-
Wanderer
Okay.
She
at
has
some
that,
point,
but she has
there-
armor.
Does she? I thought
Yeah,
she
she
was just
wears
wearing
armor.
like silk robes or something and a hat.
But as would be like,
No, she
Yeah.
has pads and like plate.
no,
right? She's
I
got
mean
plate.
like full on like mecha type, like you look like a mech
Oh.
arm, like the impractical, like full plate mail medieval, like guy comes in with a giant sword, smashes you, you're like, oh, who's this? Right? Like,
I
I
think
feel
the
we don't
best-
do enough with armor in Magic the Gathering. Like, you don't have like the fully plate mailed, like Dark Souls, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy looking characters.
Mhm.
And the only reason I brought this up is I'm playing Final Fantasy 16, 15, 16, whatever. And like 3 seconds in, I'm hooked. I'm like, oh my God. Like, look at this. Like,
Wait.
look at these. Look at everyone, right? It's so fantasy-ish. They look so cool. So I think we gotta go with the accessories, the swords, the armor. Those are kind of like an afterthought, right? We gotta deck out our characters in this.
Don't say 16. Say any other one of those games. I think 16 is one of the worst Final Fantasies.
Why
ever
you
made.
spoiling for me, Krim? I'm like 3 hours in it. It's amazing.
I mean, it's funny too because we have knights that are pretty heavily supported. We get knight support all the time, but our knights don't look like that. It seems like it'd be pretty
Yeah.
easy for them to do this if they wanted to, right? Just like load up on the armor and go to town. So, yeah, I
Isn't-
mean,
we go
why
for
not?
There
realistic
a
armor.
armored
You know,
character
like-
in Jumpstart?
I'm sure there's armor somewhere, but it's all realistic. Like if you're like a level 1 character in Baldur's Gate, that's the armor you wear. Like the one that looks practical and like based on historical facts. Give me the anime armor. Give me the fantasy. Like there's no way you're moving in this armor, right? Like that's
I
the
think-
one I want, right? The one that you take like a grenade to the face and you're like, don't worry, I got like 8 inches of plate mail on me. It's fine, right? Like that's what I need.
I
don't
think
know how
that's a good like trope to hit on. Like I think the Wandering Emperor could have been that, but then they elaborated on her backstory. I think Boba Fett's probably one of the best options of that trope. For that's science fantasy. It's not high fantasy like Magic would go usually. I guess we are now like science fantasy too. But Boba Fett used to be like that mysterious, cool dude, armored. You don't know anything about him, rarely talks or anything. They kind of ruined that when they did the Boba Fett show, and we don't talk about that. But like in the original like movies,
show
he was a
doesn't
very
exist,
popular
Homer.
character.
Yeah.
You could do the same thing in Magic.
Why would you even bring up that show? I forgot about it.
It's
It's so
awful.
bad.
It's awful.
so
It's like,
bad.
do you want to know like the continued history of Boba Fett? It's like, no, I don't.
We
You
just
ruined
need
it.
to wait for Skyrim Universes Beyond or something, and then this will be some. Wait, I don't have to wait. I'm CEO. Guys, get on it. Right?
Universe of
Call-
Beyond Skyrim.
Who
Done.
makes Skyrim? Bethesda? I don't even know. Who makes Skyrim?
Bethesda.
Call
I
'em.
think Bethesda does.
Call them. Let's get this rolling. All right. Krim, co-CEO. I've done my job for the day. What are you doing?
Okay, so one of the points I want to talk about is this is going to sound weird because we are the Commander podcast, right? But I think we should prioritize standard. I think let me break that down for you, okay? I've said it before, I've said it in our other podcasts as well, but I think that when you look at Magic and as a game, right, gameplay wise, if standard is the main thing you prioritize, everything else benefits, right? Because it all bleeds down, trickles down elsewhere. Standard being the number one thing, it was also like it brings you back to a time when Commander wasn't the only format in focus, right? And that was when you had the most fun in Commander, right? Because then you had all these pieces you had to figure out. There weren't just like, Commander precons all the time. There was just standard. And like, yeah, sure, maybe we had like some modern horizons, whatever you want to say. We had a few modern related things, but for the most part, standard was the focus. Every format was blooming then because it wasn't forced, right? There wasn't forced like cards into Commander. There wasn't forced cards into Modern. It was just whatever you had out there and you made do with it.
I mean, I think I do agree with that. And I will say, I think Wizards Maybe it's just in comparison to how little support Standard was getting over the past few years, but I think they're actually trending in that direction a little bit, just from what we've seen with like organized play announcements and foundations. So I think Wizards themselves has like kind of gotten this message, maybe not to the extent that we would want to take it if we were in charge, but I do think that Wizards would probably agree with that statement too.
I mean, you mean we agree with that because we are CEOs. We do what we want.
I don't know that we agree with it necessarily. I think they are focusing on Standard, but I think the crux of Crim's argument was focus less on Commander, focus more on Standard. Wizards is just throwing Standard a bone here or there, but they're still like totally focused on Commander. And the problem is it's a non-rotating format. To get your cards to see play, you got to power creep everything. You keep pumping, there's so many aspects of Commander. Like you could play a certain color, a certain archetype, whatever. To make sure you buy something this year, I need to release like 1 million products to like hit every little like segment. So like I think a lot of these problems we see with Magic, the increased cadence and the power level thing, is because of the focus on Commander. I would like to see us going back to just making cards for Standard, and then unplayable cards in Standard make their way into Commander, because right now it's unplayable in Standard but also unplayable in Commander because it needs to like kind of be custom made for Commander at this point. But remember when we had like 8-drop mythics that just did random stuff and then we just put in our Commander decks and had fun with it, right? Like now it's like, wow, it needs to draw 8 cards and like take 2 combats and an extra turn, otherwise it's unplayable, right? So I could dig this.
But CEO Richard, what about the shareholders? They like those Commander Precon sales.
I do.
Yeah,
I do think it's kind of like a.
The thing is, I actually think it's okay if they just do like whatever the Commander Precons, because great with Universes Beyond, like Fallout and things like that, right? But I'm more so like, we always have that meme when we see a new set. Oh, this is Commander Horizons. This is Commander Horizons. When it comes to the mainline sets, I want those to be strictly focused on Standard. I don't even want there to be a nod at Commander. I want it just to be Standard. I don't want Modern Horizons anymore. I mean, that was my beloved format. I used to play Modern as well, and then that to me is just in the dumpster. So right now, I think they should just stop doing stuff that is like forced into older formats. Just do Standard.
We may agree, but the shareholders may not. But it's okay.
Yeah, like
There's 4 of us. What are they gonna do? Fire us all?
Yeah. In an ideal world, I feel like, I think the only way to get people off of having Commander being like the main format that everybody's getting around and causing all these extra issues of power creep and trying to make everything like super flashy in Commander and everything, and to the detriment of Standard. It's great, but then I think the rebuttal is always like, whoa, Commander is what people want, so shouldn't we give people more of what they want? And it's like, yeah, but I think it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, It's like, if you focus everything on Commander, then of course, like, people are only going to want Commander, So, I don't know.
All right.
It's tough.
Seth, what will you use your powers to enact?
Oh, I have so many things on my list. But my first one, I think, I'm going to piggyback on Crim's a little bit. Maybe not as extreme, but my first one was just print less cards for Commander. So my take on this is, I want Wizards to print some cards for Commander. I think that printing no cards for Commander is silly because Commander is the most popular format, right? And it was underserved for a long time. So I think printing some cards for Commander is a positive, especially like Commander Precons, Commander Masters, when done right, can be really good. But I think we've reached the point where everything is so focused on Commander that it's kind of gotten absurd. Like, it was Modern Horizons 3 that really put me over the edge of this. Like, when they did Modern Horizons 3 and had to not only make Commander Precons, but then we found out the whole Nadu story of them, like, vetoing cards presumably designed for Modern in the main set of Modern Horizons 3 because of how they would play in Commander. I was just like, this is not sustainable, right? Like, I don't think we want Modern Horizons 3 to have to think, oh, how is Nadu going to play in Commander? We got to change the card to make it more fun in Commander because that's specifically designed for Modern. So I feel like yes, printing cards for Commander is good, but Wizards has just taken it, as they tend to do, way too far in one direction. So I just want them to moderate a little bit, right? I don't want them to not ever print Commander. Pull back a little bit. It's okay to print Modern Horizons and have it be exclusively for Modern, because you're going to have a Commander Precon coming out in 2 months anyway. You're going to have a Commander Masters in 2 months anyway. So just like find a little bit more of a middle ground with printing cards for Commander, because I feel like printing 0 cards makes the format worse, but I also feel like whatever, changing Nadu to try to make it a better Commander when it's in Modern Horizons 3, that's also making the format worse. So I would like to see more of a middle ground with how we print cards for Commander.
Okay, so I gotta interrupt you there. I got our PR department on the line. This has apparently been fed tomorrow, and I'm gonna read it back to you. So the official stance on this is this, okay? Modern Horizons 3, when they designed Modern Horizons 3, they're like, 10% will be like tier 1 modern staples. Like they're expecting it to be like archetype defined. I'm just making these numbers up, but it's like roughly something like this, right? 20% will be like tier 2 bulk. Like, maybe it makes like a tier 2 or tier 3 deck or something. Like 40% or something is for limited. When you draft Modern Horizons, you can draft it. And then there's like remaining 20 to 30%. They just make them Commander cards because like, what are they going to do with them? Right? In the past, it would have been kitchen table cards. But now they're like, I don't know, I got nothing to do with these. We'll just make them Commander playable. So that is the official stance of Wizards on this, right? Like there's some amount of unplayables in the set for the intended target, so either standard or modern. We might as well put them to use and make them for Commander. So we'll make a secret rendezvous or something, right? Like unplayable in 1v1, but maybe you can find a use in Commander. So otherwise, we just throw it away and it goes to waste. So that is the official stance. And I don't know how much I buy it, but it like kind of makes sense. Like, what do you do with these, right? Like just literally print nothing? Like you got to make something. So you might as well make some Commander cards while you're at it. And then you get the meme of like 30% of your modern set is Commander cards. And like we run with it, right?
I mean, that makes sense, right? It makes sense if you have these flex slots in your set that you want to use them in a way that people are going to enjoy. The Nadu thing, though, it made it feel like Commander had veto power over Modern in that situation, where it was just like, we made this card for Modern, we talked to the Commander group at WotC, and they said, no, we can't have this card exist because of Commander. And I was like, I don't think that's how your Modern Horizons design should go, right? I don't know if we want the Commander group having to like approve every card we make for Modern. So I think that's what like makes it go a little bit too far. But you are right, like I don't want those cards to be useless, so I'm glad someone's getting enjoyment out of them, but it's still, the philosophy just seems a little out of whack right now.
I feel like, I don't know, I think it is good to consider the impact on other formats. So like, let's say you printed a Modern card and it's like fine for Modern, but it like breaks Legacy. Is it not good to be like having like consultants being like, okay, I've analyzed these cards for this other format that I'm more attuned to, and I think this card might be problematic for such and such reasons. I don't agree with the reasons for Commander, by the way. They said like, this is like too good of a flash enabler, and that's like awful for Commander. My answer to that is like, why? But like, I do think like, if they printed, let's say like, I don't know, they printed Dockside, but for in a Modern set, and at some point somebody said, oh, in Commander though, this is actually busted, and we're like, oh, okay, so we just don't print Dockside then, or we change the wording so it's not busted in Commander or something. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a good thing, but I don't like the end result of it. There were other steps involved in the process that I did not enjoy.
I kind of already mentioned how I feel about it, right? Like, so I mean, I do like the cards like being made for Commander, but like I like the Fierce Guardianships, which is weird, but
Yeah,
I just don't want to. I don't want to see them in my standard sets. So personally, I guess you can just keep making them like the crappy bulks, like be for Commander, but personally, I just don't want it to be a Dominaria thing again, where there's like 50 legendaries per rarity, right? Like that's the main thing. So
yeah.
kind of just gonna reiterate what I said earlier.
Like, I don't want them made for Commander, but I would like other people to look at the card pool once it's made for whatever set it is and be like, hey, this card might be problematic in other formats. Not necessarily Commander, but like, I don't know, if you make something really good in Standard and it like breaks Modern or it breaks Legacy, then
I feel like the
Okay.
counterpoint is like it reminds me of the Elish Norn thing, where Elish Norn was like printed and it's ended up being a positive card for standard and pioneer and commander, but then, or not, maybe not commander, but for constructed formats. But then there was some commander people who were like, we shouldn't have this card because it's not good for commander. I don't know if I think, like, can't you just ban a card? Like, if you think
I wish.
Dockside is a positive for modern, can't you print it because it's going to be good for modern? And if it's a bad thing for commander, you deal with that with the mechanisms we have, which is the ban list. Like, I don't know if I need every card to go through the lens of because commander is so much different than every other format, right? Like a land
Can you ban
destruction spell
things,
is
though?
perfectly fine in modern, but in commander you're not going to want that because it's against the social contract, or like stacks pieces, blood moons. Like, I don't want those cards to never be able to exist because they're a feel bad for casual commander when they're a positive for other formats. So I guess that would be my concern with going too far that direction.
I'd prefer bans, but like, can we ban things? The one
We're in
ring
charge,
still exists
Tomer.
in modern.
We're in charge.
like,
We're the
We're in
CEO.
charge. We
getting
do
the-
whatever we want. man.
Yeah.
No.
I'm banning. Actually,
Before-
I'm changing my pick to ban Cauldra in all formats.
Wow,
I have the
no,
power.
no.
We couldn't ban Commander before, but due to recent events, we have taken over the RC, so we can actually ban this. But I have bad news for you guys. None of this makes us more money, so this idea is vetoed.
Yeah.
Right?
That
The
is
the reason
the
they print so
concern.
many cards is because it gets people to continually update your deck, essentially, right? Like, you have to look at spoiler season every time to look at all the cards that can go in your deck. And chances are, due to power creep, etc., there are some cards there for your deck, no matter what you play. And then you buy more cards.
I mean, it's
So,
not like we're out here playing standard and it's a wet noodle fight. Okay, like I don't think you like standard is absurdly powerful. I don't think you need to necessarily do something for commander, to where people don't pay attention to the releases, right? I think people are gonna pay attention to all the releases anyways. So like,
Okay, here's the thing: that will you buy a Fracture Foil Enduring Innocence, which is like, I don't know, $200, $250, something like that, for your standard deck, or would you buy it for your commander deck? I feel you're
mean-
not going to make that investment for a standard deck, but you might make that investment for
that's
a
fair.
commander deck. So to sell the up blingy cards, they need to be commander staples and not standard staples, which means you need to somehow have commander staples in your standard sets. And then here we are.
But they're already, these cards, I think, were like already moving in that direction of power creep, right? With design and stuff like that. So, which is fine. It's not like power creep is not a bad thing, by the way. Like, it can be, it is a good thing. It can be bad. It's both ways. But yeah, I think we were already getting an Enduring Innocence. And I don't think this card specifically reads like Commander, but I think powerful standard cards nowadays, by design philosophy, will naturally make their way into Commander without having to force it. So I think the Enduring Innocence, the Fractured Foils, you were going to grab that, right? Like, that was going to happen anyways. And this isn't because of Commander. I think that card specifically, but
All right. Tomer, bless us with more earnings this quarter. What would you propose?
Okay. All right. I got to get this one out of the way because it's the most important one. So, Richard, you were mentioning how Magic really needs this armored character, a mysterious figure that just like evokes the imagination, gets the lore people really into it with their crackpot theories, which just like feeds into the mystique and the draw of it. And what if I told you, Richard, that we already had such a character, but it's been underutilized by the people at Magic, and it probably, if properly handled, could be a better loot, a better mascot for the game that can actually drive sales, strengthen the Magic IP. I'm talking,
say
of course.
Moonfolk?
No, even better. I'm talking, of course, of Cauldra. Shield of Cauldra, Helm of Cauldra, Sword of Cauldra, as you all know,
much worse.
summons the Cauldra avatar. It's an armored, mysterious figure. Who created the Cauldra pieces? We don't know. What's the avatar Cauldra? We don't know. But it
We
looks
actually don't know
badass.
this? Is there actually
No.
any lore on Cauldra, Tomer? Do we know
There-
what Cauldra
it's from
is?
It's from the original Mirrodin block. It's the defender of the plane, but we don't know too much about it. It had a very poor showing in the story where like they summoned the almighty Cauldra to beat the big boss, and the big boss is just like, all right, yoink, and like mind controls it and then it starts fighting the protagonist and gets
What?
beaten. But whatever.
That
But
sounds
the
like
point,
the actual play pattern as well.
but the point is that it's a super awesome character. And most importantly, we have the 3 pieces and it says it summons a token, but we've never gotten an official token in real life. You have one on M2GO, but you don't have it in paper. So I was thinking Secret Lair. We'll do a Cauldra Secret Lair. You make infinite money, and you really hype up this new Cauldra character. You make it a core part of the IP. You say like, move over, Kellen. Kellen, you're done your story. It's Cauldra time. You make like 5 sets about Cauldra. You know, you make a new OP Cauldra card, and you sell Secret Lairs with the Cauldra pieces. And we finally get the Cauldra token too. People pay like $100 for the Cauldra token just by itself. Think about the money. Infinite money. Here you go. Free thing. Hasbro CEOs. Or,
I get it, Tomer. I
Move
get it.
over Exodia
Okay, yeah.
because you get the 5 pieces of Exodia, but now get that out of the way. Garbage.
You get the
The
helmet,
Cauldra
sword,
pieces.
shield, and the token as a secret lair. You could charge like $500. People, it'll still sell out. It'll sell out.
So-
Homer, I got bad news for you. They
fly off
made
the
a good
shelves.
Cauldra. it's the one from Modern Horizons, and it was
Oh.
good because of Stoneforge.
It was
It's been
fine.
completed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cauldra
Yeah.
complete.
It
So
was
I
fast.
know.
It
So
doesn't have the same
Tomer is
charm.
like really salty after the Marvel Secret Lair, and he hates Secret Lair. So he wants to end Secret Lair by proposing the worst selling Secret Lair of all time, Cauldra. I get it,
Okay.
Tomer. I get it. He's playing like 5D chess with us. I will say
You know-
though, Captain America, right? Captain America has a shield, okay? And they're like, look, we need a shield card in all of Magic. What's the best shield card? Clearly, it's Sword of War and Peace.
That's
It
not
could
even
have
like
been
a
Shield
playable
of Cauldra.
command.
but They know how unpopular this card is that they did not give it to Captain America, and they gave him a Sword of War and Peace for a shield. That's how far we are from a Cauldra Secret Lair,
The
Tover.
shield would have legit
To
been
be
an
fair,
upgrade because that sword
Do not
sucked.
dishonor Cap Shield by calling it the Cauldra
Ugh.
pieces. All right,
Ugh.
that is an attack weapon and defensive.
I'm gonna defend Tomer. Like Secret Lairs, you should be able to print niche ones, right? Like, isn't that part of the upside? You can you can print a small number of them. If it sells out, great. You should be able to control the supply in a way that you can make it work. Like, I want them to be able to print a Cauldra Secret Lair drop and get the token in the wild. So I think I'm with you, Tomer. I don't think it'll be super popular, but I think it would still be worth doing.
It will be the most popular. We got
No,
pixel
okay,
art.
you're losing me, Tomer.
Five
You had
basics.
me, and you're losing me now.
They've done
Stop
like
talking.
multiple 5 basic lanes for like $25. Like, is that really? That's really better than the
Yeah,
Cauldra Secret Lair.
but every
Yeah,
deck
those are
plays
literally
different.
every deck you play, Tover.
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah.
Cauldra gonna go?
The brain dead set, like let's say, or like they do like the tattoo art set. It's like, are these really
I love
better?
those cards.
Okay, but is it better than the Cauldra Secret? I don't know. I feel like they've already scraped the bottom of the barrel, but they haven't done Cauldra, which should be at the top of the barrel. Why are they scraping at the bottom when they already got the stuff on the top still? I don't know. Whatever. That's my idea.
All right,
They're
fine.
hitting resistance as they're digging. They need to go deeper into Earth. Got it. It's
We're getting too far off the rails here, guys. We're here to increase the value of Magic the Gathering. So I got you guys. We're going to decrease operational costs by cutting our printing costs down by like 95%. And we're going to save the environment at the same time, guys. We're going to start printing less versions of the same card. So
Mhm.
in 2024, I don't know what the maximum number of a card is, but I believe it's something like 8 or 10 because you have like the normal version, the foil version, the extended art foil, and then you maybe have like some Japanese printing with like normal foil, Japanese printing with textured foil or fracture foil or something, and then mana foils, and I don't know, guys. It goes on forever for like the same freaking card. Get rid of it all. Get rid of it all, okay? Look, if it's a common or uncommon, it's just available in base version. No foil, nothing. just one version of that card. And if it's a good card, a rare or a mythic, there'll be like a normal version that'll be cheap and accessible. And then one fancy version. You choose one, okay? If there's a special version in the set, maybe we want to go like mana foils or something, full art, fine. But then don't give me the extended art version and the borderless version and the normal one. Just give me one fancy version so that when you open it, you're like, yes, it looks fancy. It must be good. And you're actually right. Right? So cut all of our printing. just give me like a catalog of literally 300 cards and call it a day. As opposed to today, it's like 2,000 cards, 6,000 cards or something per set. Like once you factor in like all of the unique versions. Because like anyone use these versions? Anyone be like, yo, give me like extended art, non-foil.
There has to be a demand for it, right? Like,
I
why else
know,
are they
there's
doing
not-
it for
there's
so
not- Who
long?
wants pack foils? Do you want pack foil, like normal
Wouldn't they
foils?
stop it? Wouldn't they stop it like 3 years ago? Like after the Elish Norn, like we got like 15 Elish Norns. Everybody was like, okay, obviously they're gonna have to
But they're
lay
all
it
the
off
same
it.
art too. If you just gave me
I
50
know.
new arts, we could be talking, right? But it's all like the same, like two arts over like 15 cards. There's no way
What's with
people
the
are using
extended
those.
ones? Who cares?
Those-
like,
yeah.
you have regular and then you have full art. I get those two. Those make a lot of sense to me. But then you have like extended border, which just looks like a bad Photoshop job. It's like they literally all they did is they increased the size of the art and then they used a little airbrush tool on Photoshop to remove a little bit of the edge. And it's like, is that really like a premium treatment?
It's
Just
better
give
than
me
the base version, no? They should just use that as the
Yeah,
base
but just
version.
give me just a full art version, like a borderless version. Why is it this a stupid extended thing? Who wants that?
Yeah,
If you said like
those-
I can give you extended or borderless, what would you choose? I think like 99.99% people would
Borderless.
say just the
Yeah.
borderless. Like it feels like such a cop out.
What's
Because
the
Borderless
difference
gets new
between
art, right?
extended
Borderless gets
border
new
and
art. Yeah. Borderless
So-
gets unique art typically.
So
Mm.
borderless is usually like the full card. So extended is like a normal Magic card, but like the left and right side of the art
Because-
go to the edge.
Oh, that's garbage. Wait, I
And,
know
and
what
the
you're
art
talking
is
about now.
slightly
Okay.
bigger. And
It's horrible.
so Phil is a very big stickler on extended art. He always buys the extended arts, and I get it. It looks better than the normal version. But like very slightly better, just replace the normal version. Like, why do we even have non-extended art cards? Just make every card extended art at this point, right?
Borders are cool though. Look at all the white border, old border. We would lose so much reprint equity, Richard. We can't do that. We need to be able to print like a white border Tybalt, an old bordered, like that's the whole thing. I do agree extended's got to go though. Like it doesn't feel special. It's the laziest treatment possible. Like it doesn't get new art. It's just like you erase the board. It's exactly what Tomer said. Like, and one of the big pieces of feedback we've heard from Magic players is they get overwhelmed, right? We have not only a ton of products, but each product has so many different versions of the card that people that like collecting just can't keep up with it anymore. So I feel like by minimizing the number of treatments, you're going to help solve that problem to some extent. Like if people are just getting too overwhelmed to care, maybe if we simplify things a little bit, those people will start caring again and buy even more cards. So it seems like that would be a big win, right? For us.
I forgot. Did we like remove the number of commons in a pack by 1 or something? And like people rioted? Do you remember this? We're like,
Was
look,
this
we're
the
gonna save
switch-
printing 1 card per pack or something, and then people got upset at that. Well, am I misremembering that?
I think that might have been the switch to play boosters, like ended up changing the number of commons. And I think that was mostly because of limited. I don't think people actually cared that they were getting one less common, but limited players were very upset that it would like skew the ratios of their drafts or whatever.
I wait, when did that happen? Oh wait, no, that must have happened.
That's like Murders of Karlov Manor time, right? Like or Outlaws. Like
I think so.
somewhere
Yeah,
in
there's
that
a set or
area.
two ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then we can say we're environmentally friendly, guys. That's the whole
Sure.
that's the whole pitch.
did it.
That's how we get it. All
Remember
right.
when they went to like cardboard boosters though, or they were like, "This is for the environment. This is better than the
Oh.
Raptors or whatever."
I mean, I wish
everybody
they
was
actually
like,
did
"No."
that, but all the cards. I remember because I remember you all your cards would be like heavily played coming out
Yeah.
of the pack because of the cardboard packaging. But you know, I actually hate cracking packs and having like fistfuls of like this wrapper, right? I'm like, this is kind of wasteful. How do we get rid of this? And then also just all the bulk too. My God. Like, have you
Yeah.
watched degenerate people like packing cracks? Like, you just go to the back card, chuck the rest. I'm like, look at all this wasted cardboard, and we spend all this time printing it and hauling it around the globe. We gotta somehow fix this, but I don't know how. But
Aftermath boosters. Just to
I
get
mean, yeah, no one like
everybody will
that.
love that. 5 cards, no bulk. You'll love it.
The bulk makes you feel better somehow. I
I
don't know,
guess.
right? It's some psychological thing, but it's so much waste. Crim CEO, what would you like to do?
Well, to kind of touch on what you're saying, I mean, yes, I do think that we should remove some extra, like, unnecessary borders, but why does it feel so bad in this game when I crack a pack? You know, it's like, yo, I'm sitting down with the friends. I'm so excited. We're opening a pack. And then I open a foil card. Why do foil cards feel like I lost on opening? Like, it feels bad when I open a foil. Like, I think the first thing one of the things I would like to do is fix foiling. I think in numerous ways. I don't mean just the obvious curling. I'm also talking about when we now, like, I know Magic's working on it. They're stepping up their game. I've been seeing their fractured foils. That's been pretty nice. The mana print symbol's been really nice. So they're definitely going in the right direction. But when you open a One Piece card or you open like a Pokemon card, right? You're like, wow, this textured foil, this golden, like, you know, Mewtwo, whatever, right? These like super alternate art, like Dracos or what is it, Mihawks, right? These cards feel very special. They feel expensive, right?
Yep.
And that's just because the way the foiling looks as well. So like when I look at the Fracture foil, I know that's a rare card. So they're moving in that direction. Thing is, they still kind of curl, but you know, like the mana print symbol ones have not curled. My mana print ones have been good so far. So I don't know if this is getting fixed, but one thing is like now it's trending from always awful foils to kind of inconsistent. So I want to make it all consistent because the Junji Ito Secret Lair, right, has like this textured etched foil, you know, all of that, and the card has been flat as you know, as I got it day one, and it's gorgeous, it feels and it looks amazing. I want that treatment for all foils. I want to make it so that foils don't feel like hot garbage. Like I should not feel like I lost out by opening a foil.
I'm with you. I feel like the Hasbro rebuttal is like, well, it sells anyway. Like you're buying it anyway, so who cares? But
I mean, if you look at Marvel Secret Lair, the foils sold out first, right? Because if you come from any other card game, you're like, well, foils are
You
clearly
think
better,
it's better, yeah.
right?
But
most
even if
Magic
you
players are like,
know-
no, don't do that. Get the
yeah,
non-foils.
even if you know, people still do it. I also
I
think
had
like,
to actually explain that to a friend. You literally a couple days ago. I'm getting the Captain America foil, and it's somehow cheaper than the non-foil drop. I'm like, no,
Don't do
that.
it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, there's a reason.
It
I
sounds
also
like a
think-
bait.
There's also like I have a general criticism with foils, and I guess maybe it's just it comes down to personal taste. But I feel like for Magic, a lot of the cards, the artwork, it feels like there's too much foil. Like I wish there was more selective, and I know they do that. Like they do that with the actual file when they're figuring out the foiling process. I always go with the philosophy less is more. Like I wish like if there's like a glow on this character, you just foil out the glow. You don't have to make the entire thing so shiny because I feel like it just kind of like muddies the specialness. I feel like if you're very selective with the foiling, it makes the entire foil card more impressive visually than if you're just like, all right, everything is just glowy. You know, it's like it's not that good anymore.
Yeah, it kind of just feels like it's foil for foil's sake, and it doesn't feel like certain parts are intended to be foil, which I like. And that's where One Piece and all that, you'll see certain parts. Yes, maybe the whole card's shiny, but then some parts are textured and raised a little. You know, like it looks and feels special. It's opposed to just what you're saying where, it's all shiny. There you go. Send it.
Guys, I don't know if you know this, but as CEO, you get a perk. You get an intern to do whatever you
Ooh.
want. And my intern manages my foil system. this is a Tupperware I use to put
What?
foils in to straighten out the foils. Why am I
Humidity
doing
packs. The
Yeah,
this? Those are
humidity
humidity packs, right?
We-
And whenever I get a new card, I can't play it because it's all curled like a Pringle. I gotta wait like 5 days
temper.
as I do some intense sciencing to get it flattened again. before I could use it. Why
Then
would
it
you use
uncurls.
premium
If you
products?
take it out, it
So-
will uncurl. It'll take like a month, but it will uncurl again, and you have to do that process again. It's like, why are you doing all this for
Yeah.
a premium card? It's like you paid extra for that.
Do other games have this problem? Do your One Piece cards or
don't know.
Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards curl, or is this just like a Magic
Not to
thing that
this
we're doing
extent.
wrong? Okay.
So,
Yeah,
so
not-
from
not to
what
this
from what I've read, we print cards in a factory somewhere, right? If that humidity
Many.
is different from wherever you live, it will curl one way or the other. And the problem is, what I read is you can actually fix this by going to a better factory with actual humidity control, right? So like,
so they're
like
cheaping
it's
out
just
on the
printed in a
printing.
random factory, right? But you can actually find places that like will print it at 72% humidity or whatever the average is of your market. So like you can guess in America there's an average, but obviously if you live in Florida versus Las Vegas, your humidity is super different. So
Yeah.
that's why we have more problems. But like if you live in Japan, like they just gotta dial in the humidity for Japan, and like it's not as wide of a range, right? So that is part of the problem. Tomer probably lives in a very wet area or something, so his foils curl instantly. Krim lives in a desert, so his foils curl instantly, right? So that is the problem. But my One Piece cards are pretty good. They don't really curl at all.
How do they
Especially
avoid
not
it,
to the extent.
though? Don't
Isn't
they
it
have to
also
print in the
cardstock,
factory
though?
too somewhere?
Yeah, but isn't it
Card
also
sticker.
cardstock? Like some
Usually the Japanese printers are better. I don't know why.
Yeah, okay.
But
Like my-
even like
my
Magic
Japanese
Japanese cards are
cards.
better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my Junji Ito cards in Japanese have not curled. Like there's a difference between the Japanese secret layer foil and the like any kind of English foil, and you'll see it there.
Yeah, and I go between Toronto and France, and I'll see some cards that like they will curl one way or the other. France is but the place I'm in is very humid, and the place I'm in Canada is very dry. So it will curl depending on where I'm staying, basically. But some of them just stay flat forever, and it's usually my older cards, like from like 7th edition foils or whatever like that, or Onslaught. Like those just don't curl, like they're just flat. And I think it was just a better quality printing. Like it has to be something like that outside of just the humidity control. But
All right.
who knows?
Seth, how would you like to fix our earnings this quarter?
All right, so we have a big problem here at Wizards, and our big problem is some of our most iconic and valuable cards, we can't make any money off of them because we made this promise about the reserve list 30 years ago that we'd never reprint them. And now our Power 9 and Mishra's Workshop and Tabernacle at Pendervale and Mox Diamond, so many of these cards, they're worthless to us, right? We can't reprint them and get any value out of them. So I was going to say that we need to get rid of the reserve list and reprint these cards, but the lawyers shot me down on that one. They vetoed that idea because it was going to be too big of a deal in the courts. But what we can do and what we should do and what we're going to do is we're just going to print gold bordered versions of these cards. We already did this with 30th Anniversary Edition, right? 30th Anniversary
Yes.
Edition, we
Great
printed
idea,
not
Seth.
tournament legal editions.
It went very
The
well.
problem is we massively overpriced them and we sold them for $250 a booster pack when Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were celebrating their anniversaries by selling super cheap reprints of their original sets. We're going to do what all these other games did, and we're going to sell a very fairly priced, cheap gold bordered version of these reserve list cards. They're not going to be legal for tournaments, but if players put them in their commander decks or whatever, that's fine. We're not going to worry about that. So that's what we're doing this quarter. We're gold bordered versions of reserve list cards.
Will these gold border versions also be legal to play in like Legacy?
Unsanctioned
Technically no.
tournaments.
But if you're
But we
playing
could change that.
unsanctioned, I mean, personally, I would change that, but I don't know if we can go that far. I don't know. if
Lawyers won't say
the rest
yes.
of the lawyers will get on board with that one. But I think
Seth,
we'd be-
Seth, the board of directors have just conferenced in, and they've told me you're fired.
On your
Right.
first day?
Why? They hate gold borders
Apparently,
that
there's someone
much.
more powerful than us. There's no way they can get rid of the reserve list ever, right? But you can sneakily power creep the reserve list, right? Like you can make a fetchable dual land that
No.
gains a life on ETB or something like that, right? That's like untapped, right? You can power creep it.
They already did 30th Anniversary Edition. They already reprinted all these cards in not tournament legal editions. Well, like we already did it. That's done. That's in the past. We know we can do it because it's been done. The only difference is how much are we charging for these cards? Instead of charging $250 a pack, we're going to charge $250 a pack. Like, so we know we can do it. So my argument isn't we can get rid of the whole reserve list, because I don't think that'll fly. But I do think we can print not tournament legal ones, because technically the reserve list doesn't apply to those.
Yeah. I don't see why not. That sounds like a great idea. And I know we could never drop the reserve list, seeing as how recent bannings in Commander and things like that, and how that had backlash. So I imagine if you did that with the reserve list, who? But gold border it? Perfect. Solid.
I mean,
Plus,
they
gold
literally
border
did
looks
it
cool.
already. They
Yeah.
did it already. There was an outcry. I think if they did it again, there's going to be less of an outcry. You just price it like
The
not
sane person.
that bad.
Yeah, like
Same amount.
a
What's
reasonable
the actual
human
point
being.
of this, though? Like, why do we need to make gold bordered versions of?
So
these
here's
cards
the
that
problem
you
we
can
have,
play
Richard.
dual lands in your commander deck. For
So here's the
CDH or
problem.
something?
Here's the problem. We're losing out on a lot of money because players want to play these cards in their commander deck, but because they're so expensive because of the reserve list, they just go to Etsy or go to some Chinese counterfeiter and buy these cards. We could be capturing that money if we print a cheap proxy version of these cards. I don't know if we can say this publicly, but if we print the cheap proxy version in gold border, rather than Chinese counterfeiters or Etsy getting this money, we're going to be getting this money. So it's a win to our bottom line, right? Like it's a big stream of income that is going to other sources right now that could be going to us.
I see where you're going, but why don't we just do this to everything? The One Ring is like so expensive. Why don't we just make 30th anniversary one? It's probably like the 80th anniversary of Lord of the Rings or something, right? We can make an 80th anniversary One Ring that's gold bordered. So why stop at reserve list? Why not do this for every expensive Magic card?
Oh, I mean, so we will do it with every expensive Magic card, but the ones that aren't on the reserve list don't have to be gold bordered. We can put them in whatever border we want because we don't have this rule.
We can just call it a
we're dealing
reprint.
with. Yeah,
Just
it's
call it a
it's just
reprint and
reprint,
continue
yeah.
charging $80 a card. I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus,
Plus,
the
the
set,
gold border
though,
just
is a
looks cool.
terrible set, by the way. It would be such a feel bad because the floor is like healing salve.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have to reprint all the bad ones too. Like they could have just
Oh,
they
so-
could skip the bad ones, right? Like nobody's
So we would
nobody's like
just make
crying out.
the dual lands, right? Like, but gold.
Yeah, do the good
That's
stuff.
Because that's the only thing I think that actually is decent.
And Mishra's Workshop. Give me a Mishra's.
Sure.
I mean, there's
Gauntlet
a
of
few.
Might.
You can get a good like 100 cards out of it probably if you dig around with like bazaars and
Ugh.
boats and like that Lion's Eye diamonds, like stuff that's actually playable. But
But it
it's
needs
really
to be
the Power 9 and the
draftable
dual
sets,
lands
so
are the
Healy
biggest.
Salve
Oh.
is-
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, they have to throw in, like-
back on the
They have to throw in
menu.
some chaff in it, right? Because that's part of the fun. Like if they do like a Horizon or a Masters set, Modern Masters, you put in a Comet Storm at Mythic, right? Like that's part of the fun. So you could maybe put a healing salve in there just for the fun.
At Mythic,
for the
yeah. We'll
fun.
do the Mythic healing solve.
yeah, put it in its rightful place. All right, Tomer, what do we have for fixing all of our company problems?
Okay. I have one that I have two more, but I have one that kind of dovetails onto the talk on Universes Beyond, and that's curb power creep in Universes Beyond specifically. I think, like Krim said, power creep's not necessarily bad, but I do think with the increased amount of product that we are getting more power creep at a faster rate, just because if the amount of power creep is steady but we're increasing the amount of product, it usually means that we're having a faster rate of power creep. And I do worry about that for Eternal formats. Like in Standard, that problem kind of fixes itself, in theory at least, because it's rotating, right? You don't always have to one-up the next the last biggest thing, because the last biggest thing is going to rotate, so you can keep that power about the same relatively. In theory, it doesn't actually happen, but in theory you could. But in Eternal, just stuff sticks around forever. So I was thinking, hey, we got this Universes Beyond, right? And usually the main appeal of Universes Beyond is the IP itself. Like, a lot of people are buying Lord of the Rings not necessarily because, the cards are super busted, but because they like Lord of the Rings. So I would say, hey, WotC, if you have a really powerful IP that people are going to go crazy for, like Marvel or whatever, I think this is actually the perfect type of product where you can actually be restraint on power creep. Because usually, if you lower power creep in like a regular set, like standard, it means that set will not sell. Like, see Murders at Karlov Manor. It means it's a bomb. It's a financial bomb, and you can't have that. But if you have like Marvel and you have less power creep in Marvel, will the Marvel set still sell just as well? I would argue yes. Like, would Lord of the Rings not have been the best-selling set of all time if they didn't have Orcish Bowmaster in it? I feel like it would have done just the exact same. So that would be my pitch, is that you can lower power creep by actually just letting Universes Beyond sets sell themselves based on the IP. And you don't have to actually power creep it to sell.
But
I like-
powerful cards are good, Tomer, for the game. Like to sell in general and for the like I guess.
One Ring is
that-
good for the game. Is it good for the
Okay,
game?
the One Ring might be overtuned. But
What?
Bowmasters is fine. It's a powerful card. It's a powerful card.
Yeah, sure.
So I like your idea, Tomer. Like, personally, I think Magic would be better with this idea. The thing is, though, I'm not sure it works in practice. I think there is a correlation between power level and how much people buy a set. Like, look at Assassin's Creed, which was kind of pretty low powered. I don't hear anyone talking about that. But Lord of the Rings, which was very high powered, people are still talking about and still playing at Command Fest. So I feel like, even like, look at the Marvel Secret Lair drops. I think if you go by character popularity, I imagine, I don't know, what's the most popular of those, Grim? You know Marvel better than I do. Wolverine? Is Wolverine probably the most iconic of the characters they printed in the drops?
Iron
I'd
Man?
probably say Iron Man just because of
Okay.
the movies.
But what's the most expensive one is Storm, because it's the most busted one in Magic. So I think there is a correlation between like how strong the card is and how much people want to buy it. So that would be my concern, is I think it might matter more than we realize, but I think it would be better if they stop power creeping. But
I have
I'm
good
just-
news for you, Tomer, fellow CEO.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see that change because remember, Lord of the Rings had to go into modern. There had to be a very powerful card. Naturally,
have-
some mistakes would happen, right? Because it has to exist in a modern Horizons block constructed format. So you're going to see that change, hopefully, with it being now legal in standard. Like standard is an entire, like you don't have to force into modern. It's going to be powerful, but it doesn't need to be the One Ring. So maybe we'll see next year. I don't know, but like maybe because it's going into standard, that gets fixed.
I think for other card games, this works. But for Magic players, because of our bad lore and like, like people play mechanics for Magic as opposed to story. I'll put it that way, right? So because we've been trained like this for like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, whatever, we don't buy cards because they look pretty. We don't buy cards like very rarely, right? And it's like a meme when we do, right? Tomer loves Caldra, but it's like a meme, right? Like because it's
I
so
don't think
bad.
it is for Tomer.
Like it's
Literally
It's-
the best cards for Captain America. The stonks keeps rising. I don't know.
like
You
Tomer
saw that
is
sword
the
of Cauldron.
exception, whereas in a lot of cards, so One Piece is very easy, right? You find any Na'vi card, the most popular female character in One Piece, the card, commands a premium. So much so that it will actually hold a higher premium than meta cards, right? Which are the good cards.
Wow.
But then if it's a meta card plus Na'vi, then it's like through the roof, right? But it's very easy to see the tax that popular characters get on cards. Right? Same with like Pokemon, right? Like the original
Charizard.
Pokemon, the starters, Charizard, etc. They all command a premium. Whereas in Magic, they don't. Right? I could buy tons of Garrix and Lilianas for like cents, right? And the only thing that makes them expensive is not the character, but how strong they are. And that changes over time. It used to be strong in 60 card formats. Now it's strong in Commander. But I have hope that Universes Beyond brings us close in line with other card games. I've never once bought a Magic card because I like the art. But
Yeah, me
I
either.
do that for One Piece.
Really?
No, I don't. I mean,
I
it
mean,
has
well,
to be.
so
So it
if I'm
has
gonna
to
buy
be
a
meta
Magic card I'm
playable
gonna
for me.
play, I'll
Yeah,
buy the
yeah.
art I like the most, but I won't just go out
Correct.
and buy a card because the art's
Okay,
cool.
that's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Right. So I'm hoping this will change it because, I would like to collect the
Damn.
Marvel ones. I would like to collect the Final Fantasy ones. And that will increase sales and not necessarily have power creep, right? Like whatever the Buster Sword is, I hope it's hot trash. Then I can play it, right? Because if it's too good, then I'm like, wow, I'm just one of those mana chasers or whatever, right? But I just wanted to equip a giant sword and smash people, right? So I hope Universes Beyond brings us in that direction. So maybe that is the save for power creep. Or maybe we make more One Rings. I don't know. Because if we didn't make One Ring or Bowmasters, I don't think we'd be talking about Lord of the Rings anymore.
Yeah, I don't. Is Lord of the Rings really that busted of a set? Like I was thinking about.
No, it's just those two
playables.
cards.
Those cards
and-
are, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
just
when I go
those
to
two.
Command Fest, I don't see terrible, I don't know, Aragorn or anything, right? Like, I don't see terrible Sauron or anything, right? I just see,
See the
you
good
know, the
Sauron,
food
the good
deck.
Aragorn.
right? I see the good Aragorn, right? I don't see, I can't even name the characters anymore, Tomer. You know, the elf lady. Like, there's lots of like golems. Like, there's all these characters that are theoretically fan favorites. People don't play them, right? They play the powerful ones, right? It's always food. It's always Lord of the Rings food, like the most powerful archetype, right? So
That's fair.
so even within Lord of the Rings, people just play the powerful stuff. So okay, so we are out of time for our secret CEO meeting because this meeting cost us millions in shareholders. So before we go out the door, anyone have one last thing they want to ninja in as your last moments? Because apparently we're getting fired, all of us simultaneously together. So in our last active CEOs, co-CEOs, what should we do?
All right, I got one last super quick one. So super quick, on the way out the doors, we're getting fired. We're gonna fix secret layers real quick. We're gonna do a hybrid system where we print a bunch of them ahead of time and sell those and ship those right away. But we're also gonna print to demand for like a week with each of them. And as long as you buy within that time, you're guaranteed to get a copy. You might have to wait 6 months if you buy at the end of the sale, but you're gonna get your copy if you buy within the time. So hopefully this makes us more money. At least it's gonna be good PR.
I like it.
Guaranteed way like to also make us more money. I'm gonna just go ahead. We're just rapid firing through. So focus on Magic outside of the TCG. I
Like
you
Hot
mentioned
Pockets.
it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Hot Pockets. Okay, maybe not that, but like
Give us
Think about
Arcane
it, you know,
Show.
I-
Season 2.
Give us the Arcane Show. But
Apparently,
Arcane
Arcade is like one of the
show.
most expensive shows ever. So like their
It
budget
is.
is
It
like,
is.
insane.
It's 250 million or something like that. I don't remember it, but it was
is
like
it not
absurd.
worth
But
it though?
I mean, I think
if it's a
great.
success. If it flops, then you look really bad, right?
Well, make it good.
Make it good. Make it and not just the show. We're talking like Pokemon Pocket, right? You could play. You're still playing the card game, but you can just collect the cards. There's lots of ways to enjoy it, and and the main reason is like example. I just casually like collecting Pokemon cards, right? And I just get them slabbed. There's a scene around that. If you're slabbing cards just to have them and because you collect them, that means you have a strong casual follower base, right? Like, yes, it's good that we have I guess it's a good curse. We have people who only love playing the game. But the people that like me, and Richard mentioned it, is like, how many of y'all buy stuff just because the art? I buy stuff because the art. But you know, like there needs to be a way to grow more of that.
All right.
Hmm.
I've solved everything then. We're going to make a Netflix series called Planeswalkers. Okay. After you
Okay.
finish the 12th episode, you're going to have to finish the 12th episodes no matter how good or bad it is. Because at the end, we're going to give you a code. You're going to take that code. It's going to put you in line for a secret layer drop. With this code, you're guaranteed a secret layer drop. But you got to watch our Planeswalker series. And then you'll get. Are we doing animated or live action? Probably animated. You'll get a secret layer
animated.
with animated. But I don't know. One Piece live action did well. I could go for
No,
it.
I would do live action, but the cheesy Ice Age 90s trailer type things. Have you ever seen those ones from like the 90s where it's
we're
like
trying to
they're
have an
dressed
itch.
up
That's
in,
actually pretty
like,
good.
they're dressed up in like the cheesy costumes that you like made by yourself in your garage, you know, when you were like 12. And then you like do the castings and it's like stop motion animation as like a blue orb hits you and you're like, ah, it was so good.
Okay, what if we get the writers of the D&D movie and they just make the same thing but skin it in magic?
Yeah.
Huh? Like a lighthearted
could
comedy
work.
fantasy thing that doesn't take itself too seriously. Did that make money for us? I don't know. Like,
Technically,
did
the
do
D&D
well in
movie
theater.
flopped.
Oh,
So
wow.
It did
Wow,
well.
wow,
It did
wow.
well on Netflix. It's doing very
doing
well on Netflix.
streaming.
Yeah, streaming.
And it is something I've heard non-D&D people liked. Like it's
I
a
love the
movie,
movie,
and
and
I
I
think
didn't
that's what we want out of a Magic show too, right? We want people who don't know the game to be able to enjoy it. Like Arcane. Like I don't care anything about that game, but Arcane's like a good show, so it's fun to watch.
Wait, did you watch Arcane? Wow, Seth.
I've
You're so
started
up
to,
date.
Wow.
it's really good, and the animation's absurd.
I'm waiting for the season to complete because I hate watching like one episode a week or whatever. I can't do that.
I saw the first 3 episodes, and now I'm just like fiending for the
Yep,
rest.
same.
All right. So that wraps it up. I'm pleased to announce our stock price has dropped 30% in the course of this podcast. We are all fired. Apparently, we do not know what's good for the company. What we're going to do is increase more products, more universes beyond, more exclusive secret layers, more $1,000 packs of 30th anniversary is where we're going with this, I think.
More versions of the cards. We need at least 4 more versions of each card.
And if you don't like it, we'll send the Pinkertons after you.
All right. We'll see you all back here next week.